Fucking hell. I swear every video starts with me coughing. And you know what? I figured out why. Apparently it's to do with my fan. I have a fan blaring on me every night because of my tinnitus. Like, I've got ringing in my ears that goes and it stops that, and plus it gives me cold. But apparently that's what's causing my cough, and I don't know. We'll see. That's what my moomin seems to think anyway. My mom. Sorry, I call my mom moomin. Yeah, I know I'm weird. Anyway, right. This is my follow-up video to my Final Fantasy review and discussion, spoiler video type thing. And basically last night I was playing Final Fantasy VII a bit. I played it very briefly, as I said, after I beat the remake. I played for about 10 minutes, and it felt a little bit, I don't know, I just felt really weird and empty, but I played it a bit more yesterday, maybe another 20 minutes or so, to kind of get, you know, more of a feel for it. Plus, I really want to play Final Fantasy VII, and while I was playing it, the problem that I found is that I just wanted to play the remake again. I kind of almost went downstairs because my PS4 Pro is downstairs. Like, usually the Switch is great because I have two docks, you see, one upstairs, one downstairs. I can just swap between, it's really easy. But the PS4 Pro is linked to all my VR stuff, and it's just a nightmare to unplug and take upstairs. So I could have been like, oh, I'll take it upstairs and play it, but I don't know why I'm telling you that. It's not really relevant to the story. But anyway, yeah, I almost went downstairs and I was like, I want to just play that game instead. And as much as when I said in my spoiler discussion, there will be a spoiler right now when I'm talking about it, the ending stuff, I was a bit salty and I was a bit like, about some of the aspects of the ending and the changes to the game. You know what? It's actually made me appreciate this remake a lot more. Like, a hell of a ton more. Because even that first, like, seriously, if you beat the game, just go back and play the original. You will notice how empty it feels. And that's a given, right? Because it's, you know, there's so many new assets in the game and voice acting. Like, of course it's going to feel more alive. But it's crazy how much it feels more alive compared to the original. Even the dialogue just feels kind of meh. Like when Cloud's like, well, I'm done, this job is over. And Dara's like, oh, okay then. I don't know, even the banter and the writing is better in the remake. You know what I mean? Which, you know, a lot of people would argue, oh, the original's better because it has the original writing, the original dialogue, and that's what kind of people hold dear to them. But I actually think the writing's better on the remake. Now, I am playing the Switch version, so I don't know if that does differ to the PS1 translation. So, I mean, there is that issue as well. Although, apparently the PS1 translation wasn't very good, and they fixed it, allegedly, in the Switch version from a video that I watched last night, but I was drunk and half asleep, so I don't remember exactly what he said. But, yeah, it seems like the Switch port's a good one to go for. I also found it, again, I've said this in a previous video, I hate it how they re-release these new games and you've got these boosters. Like the ×3 speed one. I mean, of course you're gonna use that. I don't know, I've got a thing, I'm a weird purist when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I feel like if a game has the feature there, it's like, okay, well, it's in the game, I can use it, can do it, but then I shouldn't, if that makes sense. Like Final Fantasy X, I love playing through that game and grinding and leveling up and be like, oh cool, I'm really strong now. But you can literally press a button and then boom, there you go. Like you've got all your stats and stuff. And I'm not somebody who really cares about unlocking loads of platinum achievements, blah, blah, blah. So if it's there, I'm tempted to use it, you know what I mean? That's why I don't really like the PC version of Final Fantasy X. That's why I don't play it, because it has the speed up option. I don't like that. I want to just play it. I hate having the option of being able to do that. So Final Fantasy VII, yesterday, I'm playing these bosses and I'm speeding up, obviously, because it's like, why wait when I could just go, you know, speed, kill, okay, stop. I can just keep clicking it on and off, and that annoyed me. Because obviously with this remake, you can't do that. And you had to grind and level up and actually give a shit about the characters, and, you know, you want to level up your HP materia for the later stages in the game. And I remember playing through Final Fantasy VII maybe 10 years ago. No, I was 18 when I played it through again for the second time. I remember grinding hard on those HP materials outside Cosmo Canyon, just going round and round and round and doing all that kind of stuff. And that's half of the enjoyment, I think, of these old games. So there was that. And I mean, I know it's not really relevant when it comes to, you know, me appreciating the remake as much, but it definitely had an impact on how my experience with the game from the get-go, because I was just like, oh, for God's sake, I kind of want to just play the old PS1 version of it, which I do have on the PS3 actually, so I guess I could go back and play that version. To be honest, if I am going to play it through, I kind of feel like I should probably play the Switch version, because I just bought it just to buy my purchase, but I kind of feel like I want to play the PS3 version, because then there's no option of that happening, and it is like the complete purist version. And obviously the load times are better as well. Like, for example, Skies of Arcadia, I fucking love that game, one of my favorite games ever, but I played it on the GameCube for the very first time, and then when I bought it on the Dreamcast, the load times were abysmal, and I was like, I just can't, I've got to play the GameCube version. So I guess it just depends on the first version I played. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. Yeah, it just made me really appreciate the remake a lot more, and it is better than I kind of gave it credit for in my review, I think. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was very positive and I praised the game a lot in my review, but I was also a bit of a downer when it came to the spoilers, so the ending rather, and the changes to the story and all that shit. And I think now that I've kind of, it sat with me for a little bit, and I can acknowledge, okay, right, they've made these changes for these reasons, and it's its own thing. I don't know, I'm a bit more at peace with it, if that makes sense. You know, they took out one of my favorite bits. Well, they didn't take it out, they changed it, altered it quite a lot. My favorite parts of Final Fantasy VII, they changed that whole section, basically, which I was a bit disappointed in. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but you still had the interactions with the characters, and to be honest, like, I learned more about the Shinra characters than I would have in the original. Because to be honest, the Shinra characters aren't really explored that much. They kind of appear every now and then you kind of get to know them a bit more, if that makes sense, like after disc 1. Whereas on this, I actually felt like, oh, okay, yeah, this chick does this, and this guy's this, and I don't know. So you just kind of have to, you really have to go back and play the original, man, to appreciate this game to the fullest, I think. Because even the parts now where I'm like, oh man, that was all filler, I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of glad it was filler, because fuck, the game, the original just moves at like lightning pace. At the beginning, literally, Jessie has like 2 lines of dialogue, and I felt like barely any connection to her or Biggs. And to be honest, I barely even remembered them when I played it when I was a kid. So it goes to show how much they fleshed out all those characters and made you give a shit about them. You know what I mean? I mean, if you've played the original, again, there's some spoilers, played the original, then you know that obviously the plate falls and pretty much everyone dies, right? And that is it. Like, they don't rebuild nothing. So, you know, it's cool that they changed that, and it's also cool that, you know, knowing that the plate's gonna fall and you're going up the pillar, you know, Jessie's injured and Biggs is injured, etc. I was like, fuck's sake, man. Like, oh, do they have to die? And just knowing that they were going to anyway from the get-go sucked. And I can imagine somebody who hasn't never played Final Fantasy VII before, you know, being like, oh man, shit. Like, for example, my stepbrother has never played Final Fantasy VII before, Remake. I was going to buy it for his birthday today. So I'm hoping he's going to play it. I'm not going to tell him anything that happens. And he's not the kind of person to look up spoilers anyway. So I'll be interested to see his perspective as well. Maybe I'll do a video on that at some point. But I can imagine, like, I don't know, it's interesting because people get a whole new perspective. There were twists and turns of Final Fantasy VII that when I was a kid, I didn't even know about. I didn't even know you could get Vincent and Yuffie. Do you know what I mean? I played the game without even knowing you could get them until I literally went to go fight Sephiroth. Sorry, I was stuck on a boss before Sephiroth and it said use Vincent. I was like, who the hell is Vincent? Back then you had dial-up connection and, you know, walkthroughs, like weird blocks of text, and it was completely different. I didn't even know it was a thing. And found out about Yuffie as well. That blew my mind. Like, what? You can get 2 extra characters? This is crazy, kind of thing. So there are still people out there who have not experienced this stuff and don't know the spoilers, don't know the story, and all this kind of shit. And I think people who don't know the story will be really intrigued by it. And as much as I don't like the part at the end with Sephiroth being the last boss, I think it should have been that Roche guy for the last boss, personally, and then just said, you know, carry on, whatever. I don't think it's enough to deter someone and say, oh, don't play it, play the original. Like, if someone said to me right now, what version should I play? I would say, either A, if you can deal with the graphics and deal with how old school it is, and you don't mind old school games, play the original first. But if you just can't get past it, for example, my sister, just no way in hell, she just couldn't get past the graphics. And I kind of relate to that because I couldn't go back and play, like Final Fantasy VI, I try and play and I'm just like, oh, I can't. Everyone says it's amazing, but I just don't connect with the graphic style at all. I think like PS1 graphics are kind of my cap for that. I think I've said this before in the previous video. I'm just repeating myself now pretty much, but yeah, it just basically made me appreciate the game a lot more. And I'm actually really excited for the next part now, and I kind of want to play through it again. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how you know a game's good, when you finish it and go, I actually would like to play that again. And it's you kind of have to just let things sit with you for a while, you know, before you can truly appreciate something and be like, you know what, yeah, I want to go through that again. Yeah, I want this, I want that. And, you know, when you accept that the ending is not exactly what you wanted, and you just accept it for what it is, then you can kind of, I don't know, appreciate it a lot more, I think. Like, to be honest, they've done an amazing job. Like, just the fact that the game exists is pretty cool. Anyway, sorry, I'm repeating myself again, but yeah, if you've actually played the game by this point, leave a comment down below. I'd like to see what you think of the game, of course. And if you play the original but not play the remake, let me know why you don't want to play the remake, or, you know, if you're a bit hesitant. But yeah, have a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you next time. Or see you next time, rather.